Francisco Lindor put on a show with a 2-homer, 6 RBI night as the Mets crushed the Braves 14-3, headlining a jam-packed day around the majors. The Texas Rangers pounded out a 7-3 win over the Seattle Mariners, powered by a 3-homer attack. Jake Burger, Jock Pederson, and Ezequiel Duran all left the yard for Texas, with Pederson doing it twice for a 2-homer game. Randy Arozarena answered for Seattle with a solo shot, but it wasn't enough to keep pace. On the mound, Kumar Rocker was outstanding for Texas, working 6.2 innings and allowing just 2 earned runs while striking out 7 to secure the win. Texas also ran the bases aggressively, with Evan Carter and Josh Smith each swiping a bag, while Seattle's Mitch Garver added a steal of his own. Duran's night at the plate was part of a bigger trend. He now has a hit in 7 straight games, one of the longer active streaks in the league right now. With the offense clicking on all cylinders and Rocker cruising through the Mariners lineup, Texas controlled this one from start to finish and improved their record with a well-rounded win on both sides of the ball. The Baltimore Orioles left Detroit with an 8-5 win over the Tigers, fueled by a trio of home runs and a huge day at the plate from Jackson Holliday. Leody Taveras, Tyler O'Neill, and Kobe Mayo all went deep for Baltimore, providing more than enough thump to hold off a Detroit lineup that battled back but couldn't complete the comeback. Holliday was the offensive standout of the night, going 4 for 5, a multi-hit performance that stands out as one of the best individual lines across all of today's games. Colton Cowser added a stolen base for the Orioles and the bullpen locked things down late as Rico Garcia closed it out with a scoreless inning for the save. Grant Wolfram picked up the win in relief, working 1.1 scoreless innings with 2 strikeouts. Detroit got contributions up and down the lineup, but couldn't match Baltimore's power surge. With Holliday raking and 3 different Orioles going deep, this was a complete team effort that pushed Baltimore to a solid road victory over the Tigers. The Pittsburgh Pirates edged the Arizona Diamondbacks 3-2 in a tight, low-scoring battle at home. Brandon Lowe led the Pirates' offense going 3 for 5 with 2 RBI, while Arizona's Max Kepler matched him blow for blow with his own 3 for 5, 2 RBI night, the 2 best lines of the game coming from opposite dugouts. Neither team homered, making this one of the quieter power days on the slate, but Pittsburgh found just enough offense to hang on. Mason Montgomery picked up the win for the Pirates with a scoreless inning of relief, and Jacob Gonzalez chipped in a stolen base for Pittsburgh as well. It was a rough night for Arizona's Gabriel Moreno, who went hitless and saw his 7-game hitting streak come to an end in the process. Despite Kepler's strong individual showing, Arizona couldn't push enough runs across to complete a comeback, and Pittsburgh's balanced attack led by Lowe was enough to close out a 1-run win in front of the home crowd. The Miami Marlins outlasted the Philadelphia Phillies in an 8-7 slugfest at home. Griffin Canine and Heriberto Hernandez both homered for Miami, while Bryce Harper went deep for Philadelphia in a game that saw both offenses trade blows all night. Otto Lopez was the catalyst for the Marlins, going 3 for 5 with an RBI and swiping 2 bags, a huge stat sheet stuffing performance that also lands him among today's top fantasy stolen base performances. Javier Sonoja chipped in a steal of his own as Miami ran wild on the bases. Calvin Faucher was sharp out of the bullpen, striking out 2 in a scoreless inning to earn the win. Philadelphia got hits from most of its lineup, including Harper, Trea Turner, Kyle Schwarber, and JT Realmuto, but couldn't hold off Miami's relentless offense. With a combined 15 runs and a 2-steal game from Lopez, this back-and-forth affair delivered one of the day's more entertaining finishes, with the Marlins narrowly coming out on top. The Toronto Blue Jays held off the Washington Nationals 3-2 in a tight, base-stealing heavy contest. Andrés Chaparro homered for Washington, and Luis Urias went deep for Toronto in a game decided by just 1 run. Washington was aggressive on the bases all night, with C.J. Abrams swiping 2 bags and Nelson Nunez and James Wood each adding a steal, but Abrams went hitless at the plate, which snapped his 7-game hitting streak despite the twin steals. Toronto countered with stolen bases from Miles Straw and Kazuma Okamoto. Louis Varland closed things out with a scoreless inning to lock down the save, and Mason Fluharty picked up the win in relief for the Blue Jays. Washington's offense had chances with James Wood and Luis Garcia Jr., both collecting hits but couldn't push across the tying run late. It was a fast-paced, well-pitched game overall, with Toronto's bullpen proving just sturdy enough to escape Washington with a road win that came down to the final outs. New York Mets blew the doors off the Atlanta Braves in a 14-3 rout, and Francisco Lindor was the headline act. Lindor went 3 for 5 with 2 home runs and a staggering 6 RBI, one of the best individual lines of the season so far and easily today's top fantasy performance. He wasn't alone. Tyrone Taylor and Marcus Semien also went deep for the Mets, with Taylor driving in 3 runs on a 3 for 5 day and Semien adding 2 RBI on a 3 for 4 night. Bo, Bichette, and AJ Ewing each chipped in 3 for 5 efforts as well, with Ewing also swiping a bag, giving New York contributions from nearly the entire lineup. Ozzie Albies provided Atlanta's lone bright spot with a home run, but the Braves had no answer for the Mets' offensive onslaught. Zach Thornton was excellent on the mound for New York, going 6.1 innings and allowing just 3 earned runs with 5 strikeouts to secure the win. Between Lindor's monster night, 3 different home run hitters, and a lineup that hit from top to bottom, this was the most dominant and statistically loaded performance of the day, and the clear headline game on the schedule. The New York Yankees pulled away from the Chicago White Sox for a 9-5 road win. Ali Sanchez provided the lone home run of the game for New York, while Jazz Kishon Jr. was a menace on the bases, swiping 2 bags in a game where he also collected a hit, a stat sheet-friendly night that stands out among today's top fantasy performances. Carlson Montgomery paced the White Sox offense, going 3 for 4 with 2 RBI in a losing effort. David Bednar closed the door for New York with a save, and Brent Hedrick picked up the win in relief, working 1.1 scoreless innings with a strikeout. Chicago got hits from much of its lineup, including Montgomery, Randall Grichuk, and Munetaka Murakami, but couldn't overcome New York's balanced attack. With Kishon creating havoc on the bases and the Yankees' bullpen locking things down late, New York did enough on both sides of the ball to leave Chicago with a comfortable 4-run win. The Chicago Cubs rolled past the St. Louis Cardinals 7-3, with Alex Bregman and Nico Hoerner both turning in huge nights at the plate. Bregman went 4 for 5 with 2 RBI and a homer, while Hoerner matched him hit for hit at 4 for 5 with 4 RBI and a home run of his own. The 2 best offensive lines of the game came from the same Cubs lineup. Jose Furman provided the lone response for St. Louis with a solo home run. David Peterson was steady on the mound for Chicago, working 5.2 innings and allowing just 2 earned runs with 3 strikeouts to pick up the win. J.J. Weatherholt swiped a bag for the Cardinals, but it wasn't enough to slow down Chicago's offense. With Bregman and Hoerner combining for 8 hits and 8 RBI between them, the Cubs lineup did the heavy lifting in a game that was competitive early before Chicago's bats took over in the middle innings. The Houston Astros edged out the Los Angeles Angels 6-4 on the road. Vaughn Grissom homered for the Angels and drove in 2 runs on a 3 for 5 night, the best individual line of the game, while Taylor Trammell answered with a solo shot for Houston. Christian Javier was excellent for the Astros, tossing 5 scoreless innings with 7 strikeouts to pick up the win, and Josh Hader slammed the door with a scoreless inning for the save. Josh Lowe stole a base for the Angels, but Los Angeles couldn't string enough together to overcome Houston's pitching and timely hitting. Despite Grissom's strong showing, the Angels' offense went quiet after his homer, and Houston's bullpen made sure a shaky late lead held up. It was a well-pitched game overall, with Javier's near shutout effort through 5 innings setting the tone before Hader closed things out to secure the road win for the Astros. The Boston Red Sox topped the Athletics 4-2 in a game defined by solid starting pitching on both sides. Jonah Heim and Tyler Soderstrom both went deep for the Athletics, while Seth and Rafaela answered with a home run of his own for Boston. Peyton Toll was the story on the mound for the Red Sox, working 5.1 innings and allowing just 2 earned runs while striking out 7 to earn the win. Aroldis Chapman slammed the door with a scoreless inning to lock down the save. The Athletics got their power from Heim and Soderstrom, but couldn't find enough additional offense to overcome Boston's pitching. It was a relatively quiet night for stolen bases and multi-hit performances across both lineups, with the home runs doing most of the damage. Boston's ability to match the Athletics' power with just enough of its own, combined with a strong start from Toll and a clean finish from Chapman, was enough to secure the road win. The San Francisco Giants blanked the Milwaukee Brewers 3-0 behind a dominant start from Tyler Mahle, who tossed 6 shutout innings with 3 strikeouts to earn the win. Grant McCray provided the offensive spark with a solo home run, and the Giants were active on the bases all night with Heliot Ramos, Christian Koss, and Luis Ariz each swiping a bag. Eric Miller closed things out with a scoreless inning to secure the save, completing the shutout for San Francisco. Milwaukee's lineup managed a handful of hits, including from Jackson Chourio, Jake Bauers, and Andrew Vaughn, but could never solve the Giants pitching enough to push a run across. With Maul cruising through 6 frames and the bullpen finishing the job, this was a complete pitching performance for San Francisco, backed by just enough offense from McCray's homer and a stolen base-heavy attack to secure the shutout win. The Cincinnati Reds and Cleveland Guardians settled for a 0-0 stalemate, with no box score details, attendance figures, or individual highlights recorded for this one in today's data. Neither team's hitters made the highlight reel, and no home runs, stolen bases, saves, or pitching lines were logged for the contest. It stands as the day's quietest and most unusual result, a scoreless deadlock on both sides with essentially no additional information available beyond the tied final score. Whatever unfolded over the course of this game, whether a pitcher's duel or a shortened outing, it left no notable individual performances behind for recap purposes. With none of the day's highlight reel action, no long balls, no stolen bases, no bullpen theatrics surfacing from this one, it's a game best remembered simply for its scoreline, a rare scoreless tie between the Reds and Guardians that offers little else to report from the box score. Isaac Wheelduran of the Rangers kept his hot streak alive, extending his hitting streak to 7 straight games during Texas's win over Seattle. On the flip side, 2 notable streaks came to an end on the same day. Arizona's Gabriel Moreno saw his 7-game hit streak snapped in Pittsburgh's win, and Washington's C.J. Abrams had his own 7-game hitting streak stopped despite swiping 2 bases against Toronto. A busy day for streak watchers on both ends of the spectrum. Fantasy managers had plenty to monitor today. Francisco Lindor was the headliner with a 2-homer, 6 RBI eruption in the Mets' blowout win, while Jock Pederson also went deep twice for Texas, both huge power performances. On the speed side, Otto Lopez swiped 2 bags for Miami, and Jazz Kishom Jr. had a 2-steal game of his own for the Yankees, giving speculative speed streamers a look. Jackson Holliday rounded things out with a sizzling 4-for-5 multi-hit night for Baltimore, making him a name worth watching on the waiver wire. That's a wrap on today's action around the league. Hit subscribe so you never miss a recap.